Welcome to the Jefferson Civic Center in Birmingham. It's round 2 in the South, and it matches the 9th seed Purdue Boilermakers against the #1 seed in the South, the Texas Longhorns. As we take a look at the starting lineups for both teams. And I guess we're just going to tip it away as they await the tip here in Birmingham. TJ Ford has it.
Purdue starts in the man-to-man, and interestingly enough, it's Brandon McKnight matched up against TJ Ford. Kenneth Lowe, the Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten, matched up against Mouton.
Ford so quick on the dribble, drives, floats it up and in. And so Texas on the board early. Texas advancing on with that win over UNC Asheville, 82-61. Purdue beat LSU in round 1, 80-56. Turnaround jumper, so we trade buckets early.
Boy, look at Texas, how quickly they get out and get down the court.
Thomas around it out. Mouton on the follow.
And Texas, any team that runs well, and Texas, you count them among those teams, you have to be able to rebound the ball in transition, and they really go after the offensive boards in the transition game.
Hustling, taken by Purdue. The dribble, the drive, the lean, but no bucket. McKnight with a strong move. All right, now let's take a look on the court. Busher, Booker, Dean, along with McKnight and Lowe, who's had that shoulder problem for Texas. It's Buckman, the freshman, Thomas and Mouton, and that backcourt of TJ Ford and Royale Ivy. Bucket by Ford, bucket by Mouton, and the only hoop so far for Purdue, Chris Booker. Jumper around, it came right out. But the putback in the second offensive board and the bucket by Mouton. So tough to block out.
Well, it didn't come right out, Craig, and that was the problem. If it had come right out, Purdue was in pretty good rebounding position, but that ball hung up there forever.
Low in traffic, tough shot. Busher tried to save it. Last touch by Purdue.
You know, lots of times you can get in pretty good rebounding position. They've got everybody blocked out, but that ball just stays there and stays there. The Purdue guys jump when they think it's coming off, and it doesn't come off. Oh, well.
We played 2 minutes, a whistle.
Oh, he's got a foul.
Busher picks up the foul. There's Gene Cady, 23rd season as the head coach of Purdue, making his 17th trip to the NCAA Tournament.
That foul was called, as you say, on Brad Busher. It looked like the ball was thrown out of bounds, but he got called for a hold.
Ball away wouldn't go.
And this is what Purdue wants to do. They like to get out and run as well. They're a much better team in transition than in the half court. Now, Buckman gets called for holding Busher, so they return the favor for one another.
Buckman had him hooked up a little bit, so his first, the freshman out of Austin. High school All-American, Westlake High School. Busher to Dean. Around and out, Ford, the rebound for Texas.
Boy, what great balance. Man-to-man for Purdue.
Buckman. A whistle underneath.
Fouls on Thomas.
James Thomas is first. And there's Rick Barnes as the head coach of Texas. 5th year with the Longhorns. Very impressive. 22 wins a year.
Each of these teams interesting. Both Gene Cady and Rick Barnes have the same type of philosophy, and that is it all starts on the defensive end. Big, powerful guys on the inside. They look to lock you up on defense and then run down the court on offense.
Low hangs on the wing, goes down low. Little follow-away shot, tough by Booker. Bodies on the deck, turned it over.
Well, and I hope Thomas is okay. He landed right on low and fell down. And that is a play, you might say, well, wait a minute, you really shouldn't call walk on that guy. You know, he landed on somebody. The rule is if you have possession of the ball and you fall to the floor, it's an automatic traveling violation. Doesn't matter why you fall to the floor. So that's a tough break for Texas.
Busher working on Booker. McKnight, nice move around TJ Ford, back to Busher, squares up, long jumper around and out, tipped by Booker. Buckman now has it. Here comes TJ. Oh, around the back with the left hand, nearly got it to fall.
And then he gets
down
his
the
own
miss.
rebound.
Amazing quickness by the sophomore from Houston. No, he played 34 minutes in that win against UNC Asheville. 8 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals.
This ball, he takes the ball in transition, and he plays as well as in transition as anybody in the country, and then he lands, and he doesn't stand and watch. He goes after the loose ball.
Brian Boddicker is in for Texas.
Texas goes 11-12 deep, and every guy they bring in can play.
Ford looks down, lobs it down low. Nice defense on the backside by Booker of Purdue.
And now Boddicker's going to pick up the foul. That is a perfect pass by TJ Ford and an outstanding defensive play by Booker. Usually you don't get that. You don't get a block shot in that situation coming over the back, but Booker made a very, very nice play.
6-2 Texas, the 1 seed against the 9th seed in the South. Lowe spinning in the lane. Tough shot off the window. Got his own rebound. Loose ball. Longhorns. And boy, look at Boddicker rip that rebound down. Oh, the feed inside Buckman. And he's hammered hard.
That's an offensive foul on Ivy. That's an offensive foul on Ivy. A great pass by TJ Ford, but Ivy can't get stopped. That's a nice play by Kiefer, number 42, just in the game. But that is a tremendous pass by Ford, and Ivy's got to get himself stopped. That's what a lot of guys do, coming down in transition. They jump up in the air and pass the ball. What they need to do is make a jump stop. That way you don't run over somebody, cost your team a basket by committing an offensive foul.
That Kiefer played 18 minutes against
now there's
LSU.
A foul on Booker.
Yeah. A lot of whistles here early. And a timeout. It comes at 15:48. Whistles aplenty here in Birmingham. Texas on top, 6-2. Welcome back. You saw the Butler hitter. We're talking about the Butler Bulldogs earlier. Before this game, they knocked off Louisville 79-71, so they advance on to the Sweet 16. Here, Texas, the 1 seed, leads the 9th seed, Purdue Boilermakers 6-2.
And you know, it's funny sometimes in NCAA tournament play, Craig, the arena sees a game like that Butler-Louisville game, and there's great intensity in the building, and then sort of the crowd changes as the one fans leave and another group of fans starts paying closer attention, and it just takes a while for the atmosphere to return to the arena, and sometimes that affects the players. Each team off to a relatively slow start offensively.
Texas shooting 33%, Purdue just 17, making 1 out of 6. Oh, the shot goes down. Nice rebound. Jason Klotz, another one of Rick Barnes' players that he uses quite a bit off the bench. You mentioned deep 10, 11 players.
Another big guy, too, 6'9", 240 pounds. That is the 3rd basket that Purdue has scored after an offensive rebound.
Booker, the follow away.
Boy, Purdue really struggles in the half-court offense. Booker has missed a couple of shots now. That was a tough follow-away shot.
In Birmingham, Texas on top 8-2, the 1 seed against the 9 seed. Lowe. McKnight spots up, left wide open and hits.
McKnight's not really a three-point shooter, but he really runs the court very well, plays excellent basketball in transition.
Loose ball, they feed it out to Willie Dean, takes it up, got it.
Well, that was good patience by Kiefer. He waited until Dean cleared the defense and threw him the ball. And Purdue really struggling when they have to set that half-court offense, gets a couple of steals, and thus gets back in the game.
You saw 4 turnovers on Texas. Mutar. Foul on Klotz.
We said each of these teams noted for their defense. And what happened there is Ford just slipped down on that SEC logo and lost the ball, and Dean converts it. You know, those logos that are on the court aren't painted on there. That's just tape on the court. And in lots of situations, you'll see guys slip on that tape.
Number 5, Ivan Cartello, a junior from Croatia, checks in for Gene Katie. A bigger body at 6'11", 265. Kiefer also in. Kiefer stands 6'10". Now Dean works around baseline, drives hard, and a whistle. A lot of changes. Sid Mill Harris also in for Texas, number 13.
And the hero of the moment for Purdue off the other night's game, Melvin Buckley, also in there. Willie Dean, we mentioned, averages more than 17 points a game, and one of the things that he does very well is get the ball into the lane, draw fouls, and get himself to the free throw line.
More substitutions. Royale Ivy back in for Texas along with James Thomas.
Well, Purdue plays 11 guys too, so keep your programs out if you're trying to follow along in this game.
Dean makes the second. Texas lead is trimmed to 1, or now it's tied 8-8. Now they're looking at the scoreboard above us. I took a glance, and they have failed to give Purdue both free throws. Now the change.
Frank Scagliotta taking things well in hand, as he always does.
McKnight working on TJ Ford.
And what McKnight is trying to do is stay in front of Ford. Don't let Ford penetrate by, and that is a very tall order, but you have to do the best you can.
Hey, Dan, where do you look? You look in numbers, you look in belt buckle to try to guard TJ Ford.
You're just trying to move your feet. You look anywhere you can look. You know, some guys will tell you, look at the numbers, the belt buckle, then any place you want to look. Whatever helps you is what you do, and McKnight, all he's trying to do is stay between Ford and the basket, make Ford shoot the jump shot.
Good look at James Thomas. Led the Big 12 in rebounding. He's averaging double-double, 11 points, 11 rebounds. Now let's take a look at the Pontiac High Performance of the day. Brandon Knight of Pittsburgh. How about Dan? 17 points, 7 assists, 5 steals, and that big win over Indiana. 74-52 the final. For more great performances as they happen, go to ncaasports.com.
Well, we had some high performances in that first game that we did between Butler and Louisville.
Texas by 1. McKnight on the wing, guarded by TJ Ford. T comes over to help. Now Kiefer, the ball stripped, but a whistle.
I think they got Ford.
Good eyes, you're right. Ford picks up his first. By the way, TJ Ford turns the ripe old age of 20 tomorrow.
This young freshman at the free throw line, Kiefer, he reminds a lot of people around Purdue of former Purdue star Brad Miller. About the same size, sort of the same body build that Miller possessed when he started at Purdue. Kiefer, they say, a little bit more athletic maybe as a freshman than Miller was, and Miller obviously made himself big and strong and had a tremendous basketball career, in fact still having it.
Kiefer makes the second of 2. Lowe checks back in. McKnight goes out for the Boilermakers. 9-9. Coming up on 13 minutes left. First half. TJ Ford, little bump, and now a whistle. Oh, position, offensive.
Well, that's one that you don't see very often. Usually if there's an offensive foul called, it's the guy in front, but Ford actually moves very distinctly to his right, picks up his second foul.
Forced to the bench. Forced to the bench. And in the ball game is Terrell Ross. Now that changes, at least in many people's minds we've talked to. Terrell is more of a half-court point guard.
Well, of course, nobody possesses the skills that TJ Ford has.
Absolutely.
So certainly you lose a great deal when Ford has to go to the bench. I think it weakens you defensively as well. Ford, a much better defender. People talk about his offensive skills, but with his quickness and jumping ability, he's a pretty good defender as well.
Buckley off the mark. Rebound goes out to Teague and a fresh shot clock. Kiefer, baseline. Last touch by Texas. The shot clock with 31 ticks.
Buckley, number 24 in black, came off the bench the other night against Louisiana State, and Buckley made 7 of 11 shots, including 5 3-pointers.
A career-high 20-point game, and Dean, who just checked in, they give him 2. So 6 points for Dean, and the Purdue lead is 2. Inside, tipped away, stolen. Dean has it.
Oh, wow!
Quickly done. Couldn't get it to drop. And a rebound to Texas.
Now there's 2 Purdue guys tangled up under the basket. It's a 5-on-3.
Harris, good look. Boddicker had it, dropped it, and Kiefer rebound for Purdue. Boy, the pace picking up. Dean spots up for 3. Got it! Willie Dean with 9.
Well, now Gene Katie's over on the sideline. He's telling his guys to slow down, but he put his hands down as soon as Dean made that 3. Now what do we got? Cartello going to get called for a foul, holding James Thomas.
So Cartello picks up his first, and a timeout here in Birmingham. Purdue leading Texas by 5.
Sports exclusive coverage of the Men's Basketball Championship is sponsored by Budweiser, Wachovia Securities, IBM, and by Pontiac.
Nice crowd inside the Jefferson Civic Center here in Birmingham. Purdue has jumped on top 14-9 against the 1 seed in the South, the Texas Longhorns. Under 12 minutes left in this opening half in Birmingham, and the shot is a 3 ball that falls down for Texas. Sid Mill-Harris. That cuts the lead down to 2.
Game has been a very physical game. Lots of fouls called early.
And Dan, Texas now with a 408 consecutive game streak with a 3-point field goal.
And that's interesting because this Texas team really isn't a team that looks a great deal for the 3-point shot. Lowe uses that powerful body to get all the way to the basket. Texas is looking for baskets in transition. They're looking for power moves down on the inside and the mid-range jumper. Not really a great 3-point shooting team.
Ivy feeds Thomas, works around Cartello, and a whistle.
The Texas problem today, they have 7 turnovers thus far in the game.
Second foul whistled on Cartello. Look at Rick Barnes. And James Thomas, 6'8", 235-pounder, is at the line. Well, you can follow every play from each game on the NCAA Tournament in the Game Center, along with updated scoreboards at CBSSportsline.com or on America Online. Enter keyword CBS Sportsline. Thomas makes the first, he'll get another. His numbers against UNC Asheville, 13 points and 5 of 8, Dan, from the floor.
He does a nice job inside, finding openings and then creating openings with real hustle, throwing that big body of his around.
Thomas now 3 of 4 from the free throw line. 16-14 Purdue. The freshman missed the open 3 from the corner, so a slow start for Buckley, who had the career night against LSU with 20.
Now, we talked about how many fouls we've had in the game. We're not to the halfway point of the first half yet. 10:38. There, Buckley misses the 3, and Kiefer going after the rebound just slams Ford to the floor. But even though we haven't gotten to the halfway point of the first half, each team already with 8 team fouls.
We'll look at TJ Ford. Lane violation.
That's called against Kenneth Lowe, number 20. He was trying to get the jump on James Thomas. You can certainly understand that, but you're not allowed to get into that lane until the shooter releases the ball.
Ford's last 5 games, he's averaged 15.5 points a game. He's had 45 assists, only 9 turnovers. That's a 5-to-1 assist to turnover ratio.
And his excitement ratio is even higher than that.
So the lead is down to 1. Purdue 16, Texas 15. 10.5 minutes ago, opening half. McKnight works around Lowe. Now Dean has it.
That's a pretty good matchup. Royale Ivey matched up against Willie Dean. Ivey considered one of the top defensive players in the Big 12.
McKnight, too strong, followed his miss, chases it down in the corner. Fresh shot clock. Booker, too strong. Another rebound on the offensive end.
Now Busher had a big game against LSU on Friday. Started slowly today, had to come out of the game, but now he's back in, and that's a big rebound.
Had ripped down 6 boards against LSU.
Did a great defensive job against Ronald Dupree.
Lowe with a tough catch. Boy, he is hounded by Mouton. Backs out nearly the midcourt. 9 on the shot clock. Changes to his left hand, drives in traffic, and then threw it over the arms of Busher. So a turnover. They only had 3 seconds on that shot clock.
That's another really good physical matchup. Lowe, 6'3", 200 pounds, and Mouton matched up against him, 6'4", about 200 pounds. So those guys are really well matched.
Under 10 minutes left.
Look at Dean get up in the air.
Willie Dean, 6'1", they say on the chart, but he's standing next to him. He looks around 5'11".
There's another foul. Let's see who they got. Busher?
That will be 2 on Busher.
No, I'm sorry. They did not call it on Busher. They called that on Booker.
Booker. That's 2 on Booker.
Booker probably the best offensive threat that Purdue has down on the blocks. And one of the problems that Purdue has had this year when they have struggled on offense is the production from their post players on the interior.
Dan, you know, a year ago it's been quite a turnaround for Gene Cady. Last year they were 13 and 18. There was no invite to the NCAA. There were some questions about Cady. He's been there 23 years, but he went out. He got David Teague. He got Kiefer. He got Melvin Buckley. Also, he went to the junior college ranks and picked up Chris Booker from Tyler, Texas Junior College, who last year averaged double-doubles, 19 points, 11 rebounds.
Well, another thing you have to consider, this is the second year that this Purdue staff has been together. Last year was their first year together as a staff, and sometimes that affects things too as the staff tries to adjust to one another and adjust to the players. So you've got more experience on the bench and you've got more talent on the court, and so that always makes a difference.
Teague squares up, nice rotation on the ball and hits the jumper. Go back and forth we go. Purdue by 1. Under 9 minutes left. First half in Birmingham. Texas the 1 seed in the South. Purdue number 9.
Now Teague going to give TJ Ford a try.
Nice entry pass. Erskine just checked in, gets it, and a chance for a 3-point play. Reginald Erskine.
Passing into the post is an art form, and the object is to get the ball to the guy in the split second that he breaks open. And there may not be anybody better in the country at it than TJ Ford. If you're Reginald Erskine and you're working hard to get open inside, you know that if you beat your guy, the second that you're open, the ball's going to be there if TJ Ford can find you at all. That's just a great pass by TJ Ford.
4 quick points off the bench. 10th player, by the way, Rick Barnes has used already. And Erskine, a 60% free throw shooter, a senior from Gonzales, Texas.
Now you work so hard to get open inside, and the guys who are guarding inside, they're working hard too, so you might be open for a split second, but if you don't get the ball, then you're covered up. Not with Ford around.
3-point play for Erskine. Texas by 2. Eight and a half minutes left here in Birmingham. First half, Texas taking the lead over Purdue, the 1 seed against the 9th seed in the South, 20-18. Willie Dean leading Purdue with 9 points. Erskine, who just came off the bench with a quick 5, leads Texas. TJ Ford back in the game with 2 fouls.
Purdue had a 14-9 lead, but Texas has stopped turning it over, and as a result, their offense starting to function more efficiently. Man-to-man by Purdue.
4 ties, 4 lead changes. Thomas wasn't looking, came off his elbow. Here comes Dean, waiting for some help. All stripped away by Ivy. Oh, look at that. He looked one way, and the ball went above his head, turned it over. A timeout, 7:45 left in the opening half, and it's Texas by 2. Texas leads Purdue by 2, and Keith Lowe, one of the great Boilermaker guards, has had some shoulder problems this season, as he did last year. And for more on that, let's go to the third member of our team, and we go courtside. Here's Brett Haber.
Craig, you're right about that. The guy with the most unenviable job in this building tonight has got to be Purdue's Kenneth Lowe. He's got to chase TJ Ford all around this gym today, and he's got to do it with that bum shoulder. Take a look at what happened to him in the game on Friday. He re-aggravated that already dislocated shoulder. It didn't come all the way out, but it did move some. So look at the brace he's got to use here. It's a 3-piece apparatus, kind of like a wetsuit. It's cumbersome, it's painful, but he says, hey, this is March. We'll have time for pain in April, guys.
Agreed. Purdue trailing Texas by 2. Lowe, by the way, 1 of 3 so far, Dan, only 2 points.
And Texas dropped back into a 3-2 or a 1-2-2 zone. And we're in that the last time down the court, and it's going to make Purdue stand a little bit. Purdue has played much better when they've been able to get out in transition. They've struggled a little bit in their half-court set.
Dean from long range, off in front of the iron. Teague turns around and hits the soft jumper. Right place, right time. 2 buckets for David Teague, the freshman from Indianapolis. 20-20, Purdue and Texas. Ford, the floater, around out, and a rebound goes to Teague.
Boy, nice job by Teague.
Playing both ends. Willie Dean. And Ford picks him up quickly. Under 7 minutes left. Opening half from the corner. 3 ball around and out. Boddicker the rebound.
Purdue stays in the man-to-man.
Mouton comes out, guarded by the freshman Melvin Buckley. Clock sets a screen. Ivy wants it. Has a good look and hits the 3. Royale Ivy from Queens, New York. His first bucket, a 3, and Texas by 3.
Ivy has only made now 12 3-point baskets on the season, only a 26% shooter. There's Buckley on the inside, gets nothing.
Tough start for Buckley, who did play so well against LSU. Boddicker picks up the foul. 23-20, Texas with 6:01 remaining in the first half here in Birmingham. Free throws right now for Cartello.
And even though Cartello missed that one, Purdue, one of the best free throw shooting teams around, they shoot 75% from the line as a team. Cartello, though, the guy that sort of brings down that average, he's only 53% from the line.
He'll get another. Got it. 1 of 2 for Cartello, his first point for Purdue. 23-21, Texas.
Game has really become a half-court game. Had some transition opportunities early in the game for each team, but the last few possessions it's become a half-court kind of game.
Ivy double team, needs help, finds Harris on the wing.
And these are 2 teams noted for their ability to guard in the half-court.
These teams can score. Texas at 79 points a game, and Purdue at 72. The miss by Ford and the rebound to Cartello.
But as I mentioned before, Craig, each of these teams, their calling card is their defense, and Ford, he's only 1 for 6. And here's that zone defense again. Purdue.
Teague from the corner, around and out. There's been a lot of shots in that bucket, and they just rim right out. Ford brings it down for Texas. Harris thought about it. Back to Ford, drives. Under 5 minutes. Ford on the drive, the floater. Oh, nice shot.
Boy, that was a nice play. He went up. I think everybody thought he was going to pass. They backed off, and he stuck it in the goal.
5 points for TJ Ford, and the lead for Texas is 4.
Purdue really needs to get inside that zone defense. The zone spread very widely.
Cartello double-teamed. Teague. Dean. Way off the mark. Thomas rebounds. That starts the break. Ivy. Dean trying to chase him down. And a whistle.
Foul is against Dean, and that was the situation on the offensive end where Teague was taking the ball inside the zone. Everybody backed away, but Teague elected to pitch it back out to Willie Dean, who missed the three badly. Purdue has been settling for that perimeter shot against the zone, and they paid for it that time. Texas able to get a nice run out.
Ivy 75%. Texas now down 8 of 10 from the free throw line. McKnight back in for Purdue along with Lowe.
Again, Purdue a very physical defensive team, and Texas doing a good job taking advantage of that, drawing some fouls against the physical play and converting from the free throw line.
Klotz goes out for the Longhorns, and Erskine with 5 points back in. It's like a revolving door on both those benches.
Boy, that ball nearly was tipped in the basket, and I think it may have been Kiefer who just had it slide off his fingers.
Coming up on 4 minutes left in the opening half. 26-21, Texas. Lowe has it. Buckley from the corner. And it goes. Melvin Buckley, the freshman, just hit from the corner, cuts it down to 2. A whistle over the back. Texas the 1 seed, battling the 9th seed. Purdue out of the South, 26-24, under 4 minutes left. Erskine picks up the foul for Texas, his first.
Gene Katie's Purdue Boilermakers got started out of the blocks pretty quickly. They got to a 14-9 lead because they forced a couple of turnovers and got some easy baskets. Texas only a couple of turnovers since the early part of the game, and as a result, they've been able to set the defense, and Purdue has struggled against the set defense.
Good look at Kiefer. Misses the first. Freshman from Madoty High School out of Evansville, Indiana. 5 ties, 4 lead changes, and Texas, Dan, with the biggest lead of 6. Missed the first and made the second. So Kiefer with 2 points and a timeout. Texas leading Purdue 26-25 in Birmingham. Texas leads Purdue 26-25. Both teams, Dan, have hit a pair of 3-pointers. 9 turnovers for the Longhorns. It's strange tempo kind of game, wouldn't you say? 21 fouls already called, just under 4 minutes left in the first half.
You're right, Greg. It's hard to get a real pace to a game going when there are so many whistles, but these are 2 big, strong, physical teams. Things will heat up as we go along, I am sure.
Erskine, strong move. Tipped away, and Kiefer has it for Purdue.
It's a game that has gone back and forth, however. Purdue with the lead, Texas took the lead. Now Purdue with a chance to go ahead.
Boy, bad read. Lowe looked to Busher. He broke inside instead of out, and a turnover for the Boilermakers. 6th turnover for Purdue. Texas with 9. Ford drives, kicks to the corner. Ivy pulls up, soft jumper, got it.
Boy, that's a tough shot. Ivy's made a couple of baskets in this first half. Wide open 3, and now that one driving it into the lane.
6 points for Royale Ivy. Busher hits the 2 for Purdue. Under 3 minutes left here in Birmingham, opening half. Texas, Purdue, 28-27 Longhorns. Busher's first bucket, shoots 51% from the floor. Thomas too high. Off the glass and a whistle.
The ball is out of bounds off Busher. Gene Cady is not very happy with that particular call. That was a really nice move out on the perimeter by Mouton. The pump fake got the defender up in the air. Buckley was up in the air. Gene Cady wasn't happy about that, so Buckley's going to get a chance to sit.
15 on the shot clock. Erskine has it.
That's what happens when you play for a defensive coach like Gene Cady. If you go flying when you shouldn't, you go sitting.
How about that little jump hook? Erskine off the bench, Dan, was 7 points for Texas. He leads all scorers for the Longhorns. Ivy has 6.
When you have a bench the size and the depth that Texas has, you expect to bring in a guy off the bench, at least one guy every game that's really going to give you a lift. So far, it's been Erskine.
A Texas bench outscored Asheville, by the way, in round 1, 38-6. Ivy, nice feet inside, but Busher tips it away. 29 on the shot clock and 2 minutes remaining in this first half. Tonight on 60 Minutes, Americans in uniform as soldiers? No, as cops getting ready to do battle with terrorists. That's tonight on 60 Minutes after basketball here on CBS.
It's a little bit of a danger zone for Purdue. They're having a tough time against that Texas zone.
TJ Ford had a good look. TJ now 2 of 9 to start this game. 5 points, 5 boards, 2 assists. Minute and a half. McKnight tries to back in the corner. Willie Dean. Ford picks him up for 3.
Purdue really being limited to the outside shot.
Erskine tipped away. Dean, collision, no whistle. And now a timeout on that Purdue bench.
There's been a confusion on the part of the Boilermakers as to what Texas is doing defensively, and so Gene Cady wants to get that straightened out down 3. Texas leads by 3, and Purdue has really struggled against the zone. It's hard to beat a zone if you can't get the ball in that area right there, and Purdue has not been able to get it in there. Nobody in the lane area the entire time during this offensive possession. The jump shot by Dean on that particular occasion. If you're going to beat a zone, and Texas playing a pretty good matchup zone right at the moment, but if you're going to beat that defense, the ball has to go inside. If nothing else, to draw the defense, so you can kick it back outside and get an easier shot.
Purdue so far, Dan, 2 of 11 from outside the arc, 18%.
And Texas back to the man-to-man.
Under a minute to go. 3-point Texas lead. Busher puts it on the floor. Jump hook shot, no. Follows, tries to keep it alive. Tied up, and Klotz just wrapped him up around the shoulder.
Literally tied up. Klotz had him for a couple of seconds.
He's looking for the takedown.
Before the officials saw it, yeah. This is a place where Purdue has struggled, as we mentioned. Their big guys scoring inside, but Klotz has Kiefer, has him all wrapped up. People at Purdue think that Kiefer ought to put on some weight, and you can see why.
Kiefer now 3 of 5 from the free throw line and coming up on singular at the half. Greg Gumbel and Clark Kellogg. They'll, of course, get you updated all the tournament news, all the scores, and all the highlights, plus a live look at all the action going on in this NCAA tournament coming up singular at the half.
TJ Ford was out of the game on defense. Now he's back in for this final offensive possession of the half. And he has to be careful. He's got 2 fouls, doesn't want to pick up a charge.
2-point game. Final 30 seconds. Ivy picked up by Lowe.
5-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock.
TJ Ford brings it out high. 5 seconds, Dan, between game clock, shot clock, and a timeout for Texas. Rick Barnes wants to talk it over. 13 on the shot clock, 19 left before half when we come back to Birmingham. Texas by 2. They have 13 seconds on that shot clock. There's 19 and change left on the game clock. Ford sits right up in front of us to inbounds. Ivy has it. Ford on the wing.
Purdue in a zone.
They swing it inside, loose ball. Thomas, everybody on the deck. and they call timeout. Thomas able to look at the official and yell timeout. 1 second on the shot clock for the Longhorns. There's a look at Gene Cady, 23 years with Purdue, 17th NCAA Tournament. What a turnaround from a year ago. 19 wins, 10-6, Dan, in the Big Ten, and they're coming off that win over LSU. They were tied at 32, by the way. The shot at the buzzer, no. Teague has it with 1 second to play. McKnight, that is. Dean, they're going to count it. Got it! A three!
Now they're not allowed to review that play at halftime. And that's what the officials are telling Rick Barnes. And Gene Cady striding back on the court. He wants to know what the officials are talking about.
Dan, that's the 1.9 seconds it took them to go about 3/4 court.
Clock in the lower right.
4/10 on the catch. Buzzers, it's dry.
Now watch the light. The key is the light. The light is on. He's still got the ball in his hand. Right here, there's the guy, there's the light. He's still got the ball in his hand. But that is a play that cannot be reviewed at halftime.
31-30 Purdue. Let's go courtside. Brett Haber with Gene Cady.
All right, guys, thanks very much. Coach, you guys doing a nice job of containing TJ Ford, but until that last one, which may or may not be reviewed, you guys aren't hitting a lot of shots.
You can't review it. You can't review it at halftime. So our kids did a good job keeping, like you said, TJ in front of us. I thought the rest of our kids did a good job on Mouton, and we kept Thomas off the board. So it's like we thought it was going to be a really tough game.
Thank you, Coach.
Ford, by the way, 2 of 9 in that first half. 31-30 at the half. CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Then stay tuned for Great Gumbel in New York.
Sports exclusive coverage of the Men's Basketball Championship is sponsored by Chevy Trucks, Monster, HP, and by Comfort Inn.
Halftime in Birmingham. Purdue on top of the 1 seed in the South, the Texas Longhorns, 31-30. The difference maker could be, I know we got 20 minutes to play, Dan, but it's the controversial three-pointer by Willie Dean at the end of the half.
Craig, the rule in college basketball is you listen for the horn first. That's the first thing the officials have to look for. Did the guy release the ball before the horn? Then you look for the light, then you look at the clock. And so that, first of all, let's listen. Now, if that's inconclusive, then the thing that the officials would look for. Look here, the light, and here, the ball in his hand. Looks to me like the light is on before the ball leaves his hand. Now, also in college basketball, they are not allowed to review that. They are not allowed to review that. Here's the light, it's on, and the ball is clearly still in his hand. At halftime, you are not allowed to review that play. You can review it at the end of the game, but not at halftime.
And moments ago, Brett Haber had a chance to talk to Texas head coach Rick Barnes.
Coach, tough situation at the end of the half there. That call can't be reviewed. Your thoughts on that?
We'll get to that, hopefully.
The shot didn't count, it's obvious, but we got to go on and play from here. We got to do a better job. We tried to protect TJ by going zone, so we got out of the half without him only having 2 fouls, which was good for us.
Thanks, Coach.
Purdue opens up with the bucket to take a 3-point lead.
And one of the problems Purdue has had is scoring on the inside. Only 2 of 7 with their inside starters, but Busher got one there.
Start the second half here in Birmingham. 33-30 Purdue. And down the baseline, TJ Ford, who was only 2 of 9 in that first 20 minutes. Now with 7. It's a 1-point Boilermaker lead.
Purdue did a great job preventing TJ Ford from doing exactly that kind of thing in the first half. The goal was to keep Ford in front, and they did. Texas in the man-to-man.
Willie Dean, guarded by Royale Ivy, backs it out. Now makes his move. Stop, pushes it up, around and out. Look at that, big rebound, James Thomas. Ford, quick. Oh, left hand!
Now you want to stay between Ford and the basket, but it's hard to do when he gets going that quickly in transition.
Texas by 1. Booker, now to Busher. McKnight, baseline jumper. Good block out. Thomas has another rebound, and here comes TJ Ford. Boy, quick, kicks it back. Mouton had a look at the 3. McKnight the rebound.
Mouton only 2 points in the first half.
Now 1 of 6 in this game is Mouton. McKnight, top of the arc, slowing the tempo down a bit, looking for Booker. Now the cutter is low. Lob to Bush, lost it, picked up. Booker, 11 on the shot clock. McKnight against TJ Ford. Busher, got it.
And that's 2 jumpers from that the exact same area that Busher's been able to convert this evening. And those are big baskets for Purdue. Purdue really looking for some scoring from their post guys.
6 points for Busher. He's coming off a 7.6 rebound game against LSU in that opening round win. Mouton back to Ivy. Seventeen and a half minutes remaining here in Birmingham. Purdue 35, Texas 34.
And it's a second half that has featured TJ Ford coming out and really trying to reassert himself offensively.
McKnight picked up the foul. Thomas the offensive board, but couldn't get it to drop. One thing that we have not been missing in this game is fouls and a lot of whistles. 22 fouls in that first 20 minutes. And Busher picks up his 4th.
And Busher has been their most productive offensive player in those interior positions.
Thomas ties the game, and he'll have another. Kiefer will come in. Busher forced to the bench with 4. 4 fouls, 6 points.
You can see as Busher left the game and Kiefer came in as they passed one another, how much physically more imposing Busher is than Kiefer. And with that big Texas front line, that could be an issue.
Thomas now 5 of 6 from the free throw line, and the Longhorns jump back in top by 1. Low on the wing. 6 ties, Dan. 8 lead changes, and the Longhorns with the biggest lead of 6.
Dean forced that one a little bit.
9th rebound for Thomas. The layup off the mark by Boddicker.
How in the world Boddicker got that ball away from Dean, I do not know.
McKnight floats it up, around, out, the tip, no. Boddicker the board.
Now Texas has the game going up and down at a pace with which I think they're pretty comfortable.
Ford, the follow away, bounces out, no. Thomas gives chase, but Purdue will have possession. And Texas will make a substitution. Erskine will come in. Erskine in that first half had 7 points.
Luxury for Rick Barnes to be able to get Thomas out. Thomas played really hard for that 3.5-minute period. And Rick Barnes has a deep enough team that he can get Thomas just a blow here and get him right back.
7 points, 9 boards for James Thomas. Chris Booker to Kiefer. Penetrates back outside. Booker got Boddicker up in the air. Missed the jumper. Rebounded the little guy, TJ Ford.
And that's not what Gene Katie wants. His big guys dribbling the ball a few times and then shooting.
Ivy sweeping in the lane and took a tumble.
Ivy went down hard, and he's going to get an opportunity to go to the free throw line. That foul called against Lowe.
His second. 16:05 left in this one in Birmingham. Texas and Purdue. The 1 seed against the 9th seed. Longhorns up 2 now as Ivy will get another. James Thomas with 7, TJ Ford with 9 for the Longhorns, and Willie Dean with 12, Dan, for Purdue. Of course, that controversial 3 at the buzzer in the first half.
Neither team shooting the ball particularly well, but I think you have to credit some pretty good defense on both sides. But it's obvious that Texas at halftime decided that they were going to make a concerted effort to get some dribble penetration, to get by Purdue, get into the middle of that Purdue defense and cause some problems.
Texas now by 3. They trailed by 1 at the half, 31-30. Stolen away, Ivy. Quickly to TJ Ford. He wanted Ivy to fill the lane. A little slow coming back down. 15:41 to go. Ivy rolls off the back of the iron. Purdue has it.
Well, he missed that shot, but again, he's able to get inside the Purdue defense, get all the way to the basket.
Long 3, in and out. Teague had a good look, but that starts to break. Mouton backs it out. Now he wants a short jumper. And a whistle. And a timeout. 38 for Texas, 35 for Purdue. The winner moves on to the Sweet 16. Tonight on 60 Minutes, Americans in uniform as soldiers know as cops getting ready to do battle with terrorists. That's tonight on 60 Minutes, right after basketball here on CBS. Birmingham, Alabama, Gene Cady.
I think Gene Cady's got to have some concerns. His best inside player offensively today has been Busher. He's on the bench with 4 personal fouls. And the Purdue Boilermakers have simply not been very patient on the offensive end.
Three-pointer from the corner. Boddicker.
Boddicker, Mouton, and Sid Mill-Harris are the 3-point shooters on this squad. And Lowe now is going to get called for an offensive foul, push Mouton down, and that's 3 fouls on Lowe.
Foul trouble is going to be an issue. Lowe with 3, Busher you mentioned with 4. In that inside game, Dan, you have to depend now on 2 freshmen. Kiefer, a 6'10 freshman, and Buckley, a 6'7 freshman. Boddicker again, short. Texas the rebound, but stolen away. Here comes Willie Dean.
Dean needs to get more involved offensively for Purdue. He really hadn't had good looks at the basket in the second half. Now what do we got?
Well, Boddicker and Cartello had a few words to exchange after that hard bump. And for Purdue is Booker.
And Buckley coming in as Purdue's really looking for some offense.
Lowe goes out with 3 fouls, only a bucket. Harris, by the way, Dan, whistle for the foul, his second.
And Lowe averages almost 12 points a game.
Kiefer saves it. Took a step. Texas basketball.
Boy, and Gene Cady is not happy. This team really struggling on the offensive end.
David Teague picks up TJ Ford. Under 15 minutes left. Ford lost it on the deck, picked up. Buckley, the freshman, gives it off to Dean, lays it up and missed it. Booker, he'll get another chance, and he gets it. Boy, Purdue lucky on that possession. 41-37 Longhorns.
You know, Teague did a pretty good job against Ford in the first half, got the steal right there.
Boddicker strong. Tipped away, Dean. One-on-one with TJ. Pulls up inside the 3-point line. No. Rebound, guess who? No. Booker missed it.
Well, you just have to be a little more patient than that. Booker got in a rush. Don't need to be in a rush.
Ford dribbles around, baseline to the corner. Long 3, around and in. Sid Mill-Harris. His second 3. And a timeout. A 7-point Longhorn lead in Birmingham. (44-37), Texas, the 1 seed against the 9th seed Purdue Boilermakers. And Dan, both teams not shooting all that well this half. Purdue 3 of 13, that's 23%, while Texas has hit 4 of 12, 33%.
Texas, however, has done a better job on the boards. They've been able to get to the free throw line, and that's why they've stretched out the lead here. Purdue really struggling for baskets.
Kiefer up high. Dean has struggled. 0 for 4 this half.
Royale Ivy doing a great job against him, and they're forcing him into an extremely difficult shot. I think Bodeker's going to pick up the foul. But Royale Ivy on the all-Big 12, on the all-defensive team for the Big 12, and he has really created some problems for Dean. That was a tough shot. Bodeker bailed him out. Great defense by Ivy.
Dean misses the first. Third on Bodeker. In Birmingham, 44-37, Texas. Purdue, Dan, 6 of 11 from the free throw line.
It's a team that shoots 75% on the season.
Dean's first point this half. He has 13 for the game. Brandon McKnight checks in, so Dean will get a break at the 13-19 mark. Dean with 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 steals. Three-pointer by Harris, around and out. Last touched by Purdue.
Texas not shooting the ball particularly well, but they've had a big 3 in this half from Bodeker. They've had a 3 from Sid Mill-Harris.
TJ Ford's coming alive a little bit with a couple of buckets. Booker with it. McKnight now racing down court in traffic. Off the window.
McKnight has some pretty good quickness himself, and he plays very well when Purdue's able to get out a little bit in transition.
Sophomore from South Bend is Brandon McKnight.
Oh, what a pass.
Off the rim. Thomas missed the layup. McKnight. Low from the corner. Got it. Big, big bucket for Purdue. 44-43 Texas.
Boy, Thomas really battling inside for position.
Ford had a good look, strong, and a whistle.
Oh, Thomas can get called for a foul. A little too much battle, I guess.
Second on James Thomas.
Thomas just works so hard on the inside.
Dan, 30 fouls called in this game with 12-12 left. Purdue on a 6-0 run, right back in at down 1. And the basketball. McKnight has quickened the pace for the Boilermakers. Low drives, left hand bumped. He'll go to the free throw line. What, 3 white jerseys? That paint is crowded.
Well, you're not going to go in there and get a free lane to the basket. That's one of the reasons why you have so many fouls. Guys go bouncing around when they go in there. Ivy just right up in Lowe's face, and Lowe goes bouncing off Thomas, and here comes Klotz over. Interestingly enough, Purdue has made this run with Willie Dean on the bench, their leading scorer. Sometimes Dean, you know, his shot selection's a little questionable, and when he goes out of the game, they actually move the ball a little bit better. There's Willie Dean. What an outstanding career he has had at Purdue. You know, interestingly enough, he and James Thomas from Texas are both from Schenectady. They know one another very well.
A chance to go on top. They stay even, but the rebound and a fresh shot clock to Purdue. McKnight takes a look at Katie on the bench. And a whistle away from the ball. Looks like a hold baseline on Harris, Sid Mill-Harris. That's his third and a timeout. 44 all in Birmingham, and we'll be back. 11:46 left in Birmingham. Purdue and Texas tied at 44 as we take a look at the tournament summary. Top two seeds, Dan, 6-0. All four seeds, the number 4 seeds are out, and that includes Louisville right here in Birmingham. Butler, the 12th seed, beat the Cardinals 79-71. Hey, how about the Big Ten? They're 6-2. So far, there's been 5 overtime games.
And there's been a couple of games that haven't gone to overtime that have been decided on last-second shots.
How will this one play out? 11:40 left.
Texas stays in the man-to-man.
McKnight, 4 points, 5 boards, 2 assists for Purdue. Buckley, the freshman in, hands back off. 17 on the shot. McKnight, crossover, pull-up jumper, got it. Boy, he has just really taken over. You can see confidence building each time he runs it down the court. First lead since the half, and that was 31-30 on a controversial 3 by Dean. Ford.
Thomas tipped that one in.
Thomas gets credit, 9 points for James Thomas. 46-46. Booker baseline works on Thomas. Cartello in traffic and a whistle. Thomas a horse. 10 rebounds today.
It's really difficult underneath. Cartello trying to get his balance, dribbles the ball, and it draws the foul, but Purdue really struggling to have their big guys score on the inside. Busher, who's on the bench with 4 fouls, made a couple of jumpers from the free throw line, but very little on the inside for Purdue's post guys.
.46 all in Birmingham. Purdue and Texas, and Cartello breaks the tie. Only a 53% shooter from the free throw line. He makes 1 of 2.
Good response by Purdue. They led by 1 at halftime, and Texas came out and got that 7-point lead, but Purdue has settled down a little bit on offense. And their Ford, boy, he's just so difficult to guard, and McKnight has done a really, really good job against him today, but now picks up his 3rd personal foul.
Well, his first step, Dan, it's amazing.
Well, and then you combine that with his 2nd step, and he's really hard to guard.
Mouton draws that double team. Ford, Boddicker to the corner. Royale Ivy, nice movement by Texas. They couldn't get the bucket to drop, and here comes the freshman Melvin Buckley.
Boy, Thomas, that's the 2nd time in a couple of trips that he has missed one right underneath the basket.
McKnight, free throw line, jumper, no. Boddicker tips it in for the rebound.
Boddicker also tipped Cartello over to the bench.
Boddicker, long range, 3 ball. Boddicker, his 2nd 3 of this half. Good touch for a 6'8", 230-pounder. Junior out of Duncanville, Texas. Answering back is the freshman Buckley. 6 points for Buckley. The other way, and the little guy connects. TJ Ford.
You just cannot relax. Buckley hit the big 3. Purdue sort of jogging back on defense. McKnight gets caught behind Ford, and Ford just goes hard to the basket.
Foul is whistled on Cartello, his 3rd.
And it's hard to appreciate how strong Ford is. They list him at 5'10", 165, but he jumps very well, and he possesses enough strength that he gets inside. He can get that ball up to the basket, as you saw, against pretty heavy pressure.
Completes the 3-point play. 52-50 Texas.
Oh, that was a wild shot.
Ford the rebound across midcourt. Mouton.
Wait, nobody's guarding Ivy.
All by himself, pulls up in the lane short. Yeah, he was intimidated a bit by Booker.
I think Booker got his hand on the ball.
Low. Palmed it, turned it over.
Boy, Purdue is in another one of those stretches in the game where they're struggling on the offensive end. A couple of turnovers. Now with those 4 personal fouls, Gene Katie's going to put Busher back in the game.
Busher with some instant offense in the early minutes of the second half here with a couple of buckets. But yeah, had to go to the bench with 4. Cartello goes out for Katie. Coming up on 9 minutes left here in Birmingham, Texas. 52, Purdue 50. A whistle before the shot.
Foul on Willie Dean.
They give it to McKnight. That's 4.
McKnight's not even in the game.
Games tonight here on CBS. Michigan State, Florida. How about Utah? Rick Majerus and Tubby. Kentucky. Utah, Kentucky, they always are on a road to meet, aren't they?
Seems so. But they corrected that foul. It's not on McKnight. Now McKnight's sitting on the bench. Dean gets the foul.
So Dean picks up his second. Ford hits the free throw. Makes them both.
And interestingly enough, Purdue generally a team that shoots free throws very well. Purdue has shot less than 60% from the line, and Texas is above 80.
4-point Texas lead. Dean inside, and a foul as Boddicker reached in. Boddicker picks up his 4th.
Rick Barnes' club has made their last 7 free throws. Boddicker has been a big factor off the bench, a couple of threes. Now James Thomas going to come back in the game. You know, with all the fouls called in the game, you figure Purdue, a 75% free throw shooting team, would have the advantage, but that has not been the case.
They have made 9 of 16, now 10 of 17, while Texas is 15 of 18. Look at the fouls. Busher 4, Boddicker 4, Cartello, McKnight 3, along with Lowe. Harris and Klotz with 3 for the Longhorns.
Now Booker makes both of them. You saw TJ Ford has 2 fouls. He picked up those up very early in the game. He's done a nice job staying in the game without picking up that 3rd foul.
2-point game.
There he goes again. What a pass!
Inside and popping the rim is Thomas. He's in double figures with 11. David Teague and Willie Dean in the backcourt. Booker baseline around Thomas. He's hard to move. Back outside they go. Busher.
Boy, they've missed Busher. He was on the bench a long time with those 4 personal fouls. You can see what he can mean to them offensively.
Hey, Dan, he is so good around that 8 to 10 foot range. He shoots 51%. The floater, come on. Oh, on one leg. TJ Ford. Low working the other end.
And that's Ford's going to pick up the foul now.
That will be 3 on TJ Ford.
And don't give up on TJ Ford when he's driving the ball to the basket, even though it looks like he's about to get called for a violation coming down with the ball. Somehow he finds Thomas. Now this time he puts his head down, and how does he make that shot? He was turning completely around in the air.
Low at the free throw line. Throws down his 7th point.
And Lowe is nearly 90% from the line.
Lowe with that shoulder brace on that we showed. He had a redshirt, Dan, last year because of right shoulder surgery. Injured his left late in January against Ohio State. .806 left in Birmingham. It's the 1 seed Texas Longhorns in the South battling the 9th seed, the Purdue Boilermakers. 58-55 after that miss by Lowe. He made the first and missed the second.
And with all the fouls that have been called in this game, Purdue struggles from the free throw line. May turn out to be a decisive factor, as is TJ Ford getting the ball into lane.
Nice.
Again.
Nicely done to Mouton. TJ Ford, Dan, had 5 points in that first half. He's thrown down 11 so far this half with 7:40 to go. A 5-point Texas lead. Royale Ivy picks up the foul for Texas, his third.
This game isn't physical. Ivy just, coach tells you to fight your way through the screen, but that's not really what he means. He doesn't mean to just push the guy down.
That sends Lowe back to the free throw line.
Where again, Purdue, a 75% free throw shooting team, has struggled today.
Lowe 2 of 4 on the season, though, Dan, 89%.
There's the free throw numbers that we just saw.
Lowe makes the first. Stay tuned. Second round action continues here on CBS. Michigan State against the Gators of Florida. Utah, Kentucky in the Midwest. Coming up tonight on CBS. Lowe makes them both. Big free throws. And a timeout. 3-point game in Birmingham. Texas leading Purdue by 3. In Birmingham, Texas leading Purdue 60-57, the 1 seed against the 9th seed in the South. Neither team, Dan, shooting the ball all that well, but yet you still see teams, it's been a physical, especially second half.
Well, you've had 8 ties in the game. We've had 12 lead changes in the game, and the physical play has been the primary feature. TJ Ford really has taken over in the second half after Purdue did a pretty nice job staying between Ford and the basket in the first half. Ford has been able to get some real good penetration, and that has really keyed the Texas offense.
TJ Ford with 16.6 assists. Mouton for 3, around and out. Lowe tried to chase it out. Last touch by Lowe.
Now we've talked about TJ Ford. He's got 6 assists in the game, many of them of the spectacular variety.
Inbounds. Erskine got it.
And there's another assist by Ford. You get that guy taking the ball out of bounds, you never know what's going to happen.
That's 7 assists for TJ. Erskine, great game, Dan. Off the bench, the senior from Gonzales, Texas now with 9 points. 7 in the first half.
Texas now in the zone. Purdue was in the zone the last time as well.
Over the back.
And keep in mind, every time that there is a foul that's not a player or a team control foul, we'll have shooting. That's the 10th team foul on Texas, so Booker will get 2.
Purdue from the line now 14 of 22. Booker makes the first, and tonight on 60 Minutes, Americans in uniform. As soldiers, no. As cops, getting ready to do battle with terrorists. That's tonight on 60 Minutes, right after basketball, here on CBS.
Cartello back in the game. Gene Katie talking to Busher on the bench.
Booker perfect from the line, 4 of 4. Under 7 minutes left, and that trims the Texas lead down to 3.
Man-to-man for Purdue.
Ford works around Thomas, switches to the left hand. So quick, pops the jumper. Around and out. Big rebound by Booker. McKnight. Kicks. Dean thought about the 3. Now he floats up the jumper. Couldn't get it off the window, but the tip goes in.
That's one of those where you stick your hand up and swat at the ball, and sometimes fortune finds you. Dean being defended very, very well by Royale Ivy, and Cartello just gets his hands on the ball and tips it in.
First bucket for Ivan Cartello. 62-61 Texas. Ivy against Dean.
Thomas working hard for position on the inside.
Erskine trying to set the pick. Here comes Ford to Ivy, wide open, and hits. It's a 2.
Boy, TJ Ford, the defense just collapses around him. That creates a lot of openings.
Cartello covers up off the miss and a fresh clock, and he smartly gives it to Lowe. Hands off to McKnight. Inside, Cartello, 2 quick ones.
That's a great pass by Dean, and Cartello not noted for his offensive skills. Those are 2 pretty big buckets.
Mouton the other way. Too strong, loose ball, and is pulled down by McKnight.
Boy, Mouton's offensive struggles continue.
Mouton 3 of 12. Tight game in Birmingham, coming up on 5 minutes left. The floater.
Oh, that's a bad shot.
Ford lost it. Erskine the follow for the lay-in. Erskine with 11 double figures.
Boy, Willie Dean, a big part of his game is driving the ball to the basket to get fouled, but he didn't get the foul that time. He's now 0 for 6 in this half. And that shot rebounded out in such a manner that Texas got an easy basket.
Nice feed inside. Booker in traffic. Cartello on the backside, the rebound. It did not touch the rim. The shot clock continues to roll. 7 on the shot, 6 on the shot. Dean flips it up. Low.
Oh, I think the ball hit the rim.
It did. It did hit the rim, and it never reset. Right there.
Ball hit the rim. It was tipped, and it did hit the rim. And so the shot clock should have reset. Now the question is, to whom do you give the ball?
They will make their way to the scorer's table.
Well, what you're allowed to do here, you're allowed to review as to whether there's a timer's error. And so what you're doing, it's an error by the shot clock operator to not reset the shot clock. But and they'll clearly see that the ball hit the rim, and then the question will be, who gets the ball? There, right there, the ball hits the rim and it comes off. Now, who has this ball as the shot clock expires? I think what they're going to have to do is decide that the ball hit the rim, but they're going to have to go with the possession arrow because nobody had possession of the ball, and the possession arrow at this point favors Texas.
Both huddles, Gene Cady. Texas awaits as Rick Barnes looks on. The 3 officials huddled up. The possession arrows you see pointing to the Longhorns.
And that's what happens. I think you would have to consider that an inadvertent whistle. The ball is up now. It misses. There is the tip right there. Purdue tips the ball, and it does hit the rim. Dean drives to the basket. I think that's Lowe that got his hand on it and tipped it. Lowe gets up and tips the ball. The ball hits the rim, and now the scramble for the ball starts. And the question becomes, who has the ball? All the officials, after reviewing it, have decided it is a shot clock violation. And what the officials have ruled is the ball did hit the rim, but it wasn't a shot.
Ford in traffic. Interesting. Well, they took a look not once but twice, huddled up. Dan, that's strange.
Well, it looked to me, if I'm looking at that, there's the 4th foul on Cartello. If I'm looking at that thing, I thought Lowe tipped the ball. But the officials ruled that he did not.
16 points, 8 assists, now 17 for TJ Ford. Also 9 rebounds. How about those numbers for a 5'10", 160-pounder? We play on. 67-63 Texas.
Here's that zone defense that Texas used so effectively in the first half.
McKnight, floater, got it.
But in the first half, Purdue did not get the ball into the middle like that. That's a nice job to get it in the middle to Cartello and then have Cartello find a cutter coming through.
They had a couple of controversial looks to end this game. Of course, that 3 by Dean to end the half, and now the officials go to the scorer's table again. Ford tried to go inside, and McKnight got a hand on it. A timeout with 3:41 left. The 1 seed against the 9 seed in the South in Birmingham. It's a 2-point Texas lead, 3:41 remaining. Dan, timeouts both with 3.
Oh boy, that ball just slipped right through Mouton's hands. Mouton, this has not been one of his better games. Rick Barnes, notice that Mouton is a much better player than he has shown today, but Mouton, he's done a pretty good defensive job.
I just watched Lowe run down the court for Purdue, and he's wincing a bit with that shoulder. Jump ball, good
and
defense.
That's Texas ball. Texas ball. Now, Booker just threw the ball up in the air. He is very fortunate that none of the referees saw that, because Booker at the end of this play, that's a jump ball. Booker's going to take the ball and throw it up in the air. Nice job by Thomas to get his hand on the ball.
I was awaiting the whistle. Ivy, Boddicker, TJ Ford, baseline shut down by Cartello, so he backs it back out with 17 on the shot. Ivy back to Ford.
Spread the court, and Ford is going to try to get in the middle now.
2-point game. Ford pulls up, in and out. Backside rebound, double pump. Boddicker, no, fights again. Another rebound and a fresh shot clock.
Boddicker really is a tough matchup. He's so big and strong, and as we've seen in this game, he can come out and shoot the three, and he just out-battled Cartello for that ball. 8
rebounds for Boddicker. 20 left on the shot clock. 2:35 to go. They clear it out. Ivy, good look, got it. Royale Ivy with 12, and that opens up a 4-point Longhorn lead. McKnight.
That's a big basket. McKnight has really had a nice game.
McKnight with 10 out of South Bend, Indiana, just a sophomore. 69-67. Texas the 1 seed, trying to move on to the Sweet 16, but what about by Purdue?
Oh boy, McKnight thought he had the ball.
4 on McKnight.
McKnight does a great job getting through this screen and reaches in. He got him. He stole the ball with his right hand, but he had his left arm locked into TJ Ford's left arm. That's how he got the ball loose.
TJ Ford, 5 of 7, now 6 of 8. Stay tuned. Tonight's lineup here on CBS: Michigan State and Florida, and Utah, Kentucky. Here it's a 3-point game. TJ Ford trying to make it 4, and he does. TJ Ford, 19 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Under 2 minutes to go. McKnight with 4 fouls, working against TJ Ford. Lowe drops it, baseline. Booker lost it.
Now Purdue's got to dig in on the defensive end. Purdue going inside, and that's a good place to go with the ball, but Booker just isn't able to handle it. Now Purdue's got to get a defensive stop. This would be big for Texas if they can score here.
Mouton pops out, working on Lowe. Now Ivy on the wing. Back up to TJ, under 1.5 minutes left. Texas trying to move on to San Antonio. Ivy spinning. And a foul on Willie Dean. Let's check the CBS Sportsline stat of the game. Points in the paint. Texas doubling up the Boilermakers 40-20. And to get complete game stats at CBSSportsline.com or on America Online, simply enter keyword CBS Sportsline.
When Texas has done such a great job from the free throw line, now 11 of 12 from the line in the second half.
$14 for Ivy. Big free throws. The lead now 73-67. Texas. Gene Cady wants a timeout. 1:13 left in Birmingham. (73-67) Longhorns. As we look at the reset, 1:13 remaining, possession arrow. According to Purdue.
If you're the Purdue Boilermakers, what you're looking for here is a quick score. You don't necessarily need the 3. You'll take it if you get it. but you need to get something quickly.
They give it to Dean. Contact.
Offensive foul.
Wow, Ivy really stood his ground, and Dean picks up the foul. His third.
Ivy just does a great job moving his feet to get in front, and Dean just lowers that shoulder and hits him right in the chest. That's what the official's looking for. You get that shoulder into the torso, and generally that's going to be an offensive foul, and that is a big turnover.
Mouton has it, less than a minute left. Texas will run some clock. And a whistle away from the ball.
Foul's on Kenneth Lowe, and the only problem with that foul is that it's now his fourth foul, but the problem is he waited until there's 20 seconds left on the shot clock. If you're going to commit a foul like that, you have to commit it right away.
Mouton, 4 points in this game, 2 of 11 from the floor, but he makes the free throw.
Mouton only a 64% free throw shooter on the year, so he's a guy that you'd like to have at the line if you are Purdue.
UConn awaits the winner in San Antonio, the Sweet 16.
And now you got to look at some threes.
Stripped. That may have done it. 50 seconds left. Mouton brings it down on the wing for Texas. And a timeout with 37 seconds and change left. Texas. They can smell San Antonio. The Chevy most valuable players of the game are Brandon McKnight from Purdue, TJ Ford from Texas. McKnight impressive with 10 points. How about TJ Ford's numbers? Final seconds as Ford backs it out. 10 on the shot, 23 on the game clock. Ford drives. Got it. 10-point lead for Texas. San Antonio, here they come. Lowe missed the 3. Thomas has it for Texas in the final seconds in Birmingham. The 1 seed in the South will advance on. Too much TJ Ford.
Particularly in the second half. Texas came out with the idea in the second half that they were going to take the ball to the basket, and with Ford they did quite successfully.
Texas will take on the 5th seed, the UConn Huskies. Texas now 24-6. Gene Katie's Purdue Boilermakers will finish the season at 19-11. 77-67. Texas advances to their 4th Sweet 16. A 10-point win led by TJ Ford. Willie Dean gave Purdue 13 and Kenneth Lowe had 9. Brandon McKnight played very well with 10 for the Boilermakers.
Greg Gumbel in New York. The Texas Longhorns, #1 seed in the South, are in the Sweet 16 with a 10-point victory over the Purdue Boilermakers. Now, some of you